Hello Primary 5 superheroes. Welcome back in a new episode of our science curriculum of the 5th primary stage. Here is lesson number 5, comparing plant to human systems. We're going to be starting this lesson actually to answer just one question. Through the whole lesson, we are looking for this answer. How do humans and plants obtain the needed energy from the food and get their oxygen? Actually, the human has two main systems to get the energy or to obtain the energy, to be specific. The first system, which is responsible for getting the nutrients from the food that we eat. I guess you might remember the digestive system from primary 4. It's responsible for the digestion of the food, breaking down the big pieces of food into tiny and small pieces of nutrients that will be absorbed within the small intestine. Later on, they're gonna be distributed all over the human's body parts. The next system that we have here is the respiratory system, but this system has a different mission. It's responsible for getting the oxygen and releasing the carbon dioxide within the inhalation and the exhalation process, which means breathing. So the human's body has two main systems. Number one, the digestive system, through which we can get the nutrients. The next one, the respiratory system, which is responsible for getting the oxygen that can be used later on in the digestion of food, and this is how humans obtain the energy from the food. How about plants? The first one is the photosynthesis that we have studied in the previous videos, through which the plant gets its own food and also it releases the oxygen. So the income here in the photosynthesis is going to be sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide gas. And please take a look here, the photosynthesis in which the plant takes carbon dioxide, but for getting the food, for creating the food, not for breathing. So the plant in photosynthesis makes its own food by getting some ingredients, sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. Together, the plant can use it by the chlorophyll inside to produce the food, which is going to be glucose. A new piece of information we're going to study in this lesson. I know you might not think about this usually because we always study photosynthesis process, but don't forget, the plant is a living organism. It's breathing like all living organisms. What do you mean, Mr. Saif? I mean the plant is breathing, which means the plant takes oxygen and gives out carbon dioxide in the breathing or in the respiration process. And here we can differentiate between the photosynthesis and the breathing or the respiration process. In photosynthesis, the plant gets carbon dioxide to release oxygen. But in the respiration process or in the breathing as a vital process, the plant gets oxygen and releases or produces carbon dioxide as well, which means the plant makes both of them, makes photosynthesis and breathes in the same time. So the plant as a living organism gets oxygen, it's needed for breathing, but produces carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide can be recycled or can be used later on by the photosynthesis process that happens in the plant leaves. And now it's time for the plant transport system. I guess in the previous videos we studied that the plant has two main tubes. The first one is the xylem, the second one is the phloem. And we said that the xylem is responsible for getting the water from the roots and deliver it upward to be distributed all over the plant parts. And the xylem exists inside the stem. Phloem as well exists inside the stem, but the direction and the material that would be delivered by the phloem is different. Phloem is not for water. The phloem delivers the food that is created by the plant leaves all over the plant parts, but the food here going to be moving within the phloem upward and downward. That's the main difference between the phloem and the xylem. Xylem for water only, and the direction of the distribution going to be upward only. The phloem for food that is created by the plant leaves, and the direction of the distribution here going to be upward and downward. So this is what happened to make sure all plant parts going to get their needed food. We call this a transport system, or to be specific, the plant transport system, because it's responsible for delivering or the transporting of the food and water all over the plant parts. Now let's watch our transport system, or to be specific, it's the human cardiovascular system. The cardiovascular system of the human, or we can call it sometimes circulatory system, it's responsible for the same function that happens in plants but here in human. As you know, the human body is made up of many systems. These systems might be the muscular system, which contains all muscles of the human's body. The skeletal system as well, it's one of our systems, but it's responsible for giving the body support and so on. The next part, the digestive system, which is made up of organs responsible for breaking down the food into tiny and smaller pieces. Then these tiny nutrients will be distributed from the small intestine here by the blood vessels that found in this area all over the human's body. This is the respiratory system, which is responsible for getting the oxygen by the nose and the rest of the organs. Then the oxygen moves from the lungs inside the body to be distributed all over body organs. And the question right now comes for the cardiovascular system. This is the system that is responsible for delivering the digested food from the digestive system here and the oxygen from the respiratory system, which is located in this area, all over the human's body organs, because the arms, legs, heart, brain, all organs need the oxygen and the nutrients to obtain their energy, to perform their vital processes. So the system which is found in front of you, known as the cardiovascular system or the circulatory system, it makes the same function of the transport system in plants, but this is in human. As you see here, the circulatory system is made up of many parts. Let's start by the main part, which is going to be our heart. This is our heart, which is responsible for pumping the blood. Look at the heart, you're gonna find it actually like the pump, and it has places here to be connected with blood vessels. So these locations for connections with blood vessels. What are the blood vessels? They are tubes responsible for delivering the blood from the heart into the other body parts and from the other body parts back to heart. Let's start by the first kind. The first kind going to be the arteries. The kind of blood vessels that you see here, known as arteries, they are distributed all over body parts, as you see there. Look how amazing they are. This is the human body, and it has arteries connecting all body organs together. Look, they are taking the blood from the heart and distribute it like that into the two arms, the two legs, all organs, the brain. So they are delivering the blood that full of oxygen and nutrients to all of the body organs. The second kind of blood vessels that are found in our circulatory system are the veins. That's the other kind of the blood vessels that we have in our bodies, but their function is different. The veins actually are distributed all over body organs as well. They are connected with all body organs with small connections known as blood capillaries, where the end of the artery connected with the beginning of a vein here. Why do you think the veins are important? Here we go. When we deliver the food and the oxygen to all body organs, they perform a vital process. Then they produce carbon dioxide and other wastes. These wastes with the carbon dioxide must be delivered back to heart, so the heart can pump them to the lungs, so we can expel out the carbon dioxide and gives the waste to kidneys to filter them. What I'm trying to say here, the veins are carrying another kind of blood. Blood is not full of oxygen. Blood carries carbon dioxide that is produced as a result of the respiration process in the human. So one more time, this is our heart, the main component of our circulatory system, which contains inside blood, carries oxygen and nutrients. These ingredients, these materials, the oxygen and the nutrients will be distributed all over the body parts by the arteries. So the main function of the arteries is to carry blood rich in oxygen. The blood is rich in oxygen within the arteries to distribute it all over the body, systems, organs, cells, and so on. So they get the oxygen, they get the food through the blood that moves within the arteries. When the organs receive the blood that rich in oxygen and nutrients, they release energy so they can perform their vital activities, but in the same time they produce wastes and carbon dioxide. They must not be waiting there. They must be delivered back to heart. This is why the veins exist in our circulatory system, to collect the deoxygenated blood. By the way, deoxygenated means blood poor in the oxygen or has extra amount of carbon dioxide. So that's the meaning of deoxygenated blood, which comes back by veins to heart here, by the veins. The veins are connected to heart, as you see there. Look. The veins are connected to heart here because they are bringing back the deoxygenated blood inside the heart. Then the heart pumps the deoxygenated blood to lungs. So the lungs are taking the deoxygenated blood by some arteries known as pulmonary arteries. The pulmonary arteries are the exceptional kind of arteries that exist here in the heart, and they are connected with the heart to deliver the deoxygenated blood to lungs. When the lungs receive the deoxygenated blood, they help you to release and get rid of the carbon dioxide by the respiratory system within the exhalation process, like that. Carbon dioxide goes out. After that, the oxygen goes in by the inhalation process, like that, when we breathe in. But right now, the oxygen that has been received by the lungs must be delivered to heart by pulmonary veins. It's the exceptional kind of veins. These veins are getting the blood from lungs into the heart. So the heart right now receives oxygenated blood, blood rich in oxygen. Then the cycle starts again. The arteries take the oxygenated blood to distribute it all over body parts. Then the organs receive the oxygenated blood with the nutrients to perform their vital activities and finally produce wastes. This is why we have veins, to bring back to heart the deoxygenated blood that will be sent later on to the lungs, so the lungs can release them and help you to get rid of the carbon dioxide. And simply, this is the mission of our cardiovascular system or the circulatory system. Finally, that's a summary about the cardiovascular system or the circulatory system. It's made up of heart, which is the first part, the most important part in the human's circulatory system. The main function of the heart is pumping the blood. It pumps the blood. The second part, blood vessels. The blood vessels actually are divided into two main types, as you see there. The first kind is the arteries. The second one is the veins. So the two main kinds of blood vessels are for two different functions. Arteries are carrying oxygen and glucose. The veins are responsible for collecting the carbon dioxide with the waste back to heart. So the direction here in arteries from heart to all organs, but the direction in veins from all organs back to heart. That's the main difference between them. The second difference is in the content. Here in the arteries we can find blood rich in oxygen and glucose, but in veins we can find blood rich in carbon dioxide or deoxygenated blood. The conclusion of our lesson represented here by a comparison between the transport system, which is found in plant, the human circulatory system. The first one has two main tubes, xylem and phloem. Xylem for water, phloem for food. The xylem for water, and the water moves inside upward. The phloem has two main directions to distribute the food, upward and downward. Here in the human's body we have circulatory system, not transport system. But the circulatory system here is made up of heart mainly and two kinds of blood vessels, arteries and veins. The arteries are carrying blood rich in oxygen, veins are the opposite. Mainly they carry carbon dioxide. Don't forget the third component, which is going to be the blood, because the blood actually here is a main component in our circulatory system. Finally, we have gifts as usual at the end of each lesson. The first gift for you here is a word search. In front of you here, some questions starting from number 1, ending to number 10. And here are labels to fill down the answers. But you need to pick up the answers that will be filled here in these labels from this word search. You need to search here for the words that you are looking for, then match them with the correct number. So the question number 1, a gas is consumed by plant during photosynthesis. The answer might be carbon dioxide. But do you see where is carbon dioxide? Search for it. When you find it, please fill it down here in number 1. Then move to question number 2. One of the really interesting activities that I really like is the anagram. In the anagram, we can find words but with the scrambled letters. We need to unscramble these letters to discover the correct word. In front of you here, scrambled letters, ULGSN. They form a word from our lesson. Which word do you think? I guess you might be looking for the L. So, is it similar? I guess we can put U and then N, G, and finally S. So they form lungs. When you pass the first word successfully, a new level with another word appears to you. Fill them down. You're gonna find all links of all games in the comments below. And send me back a screenshot of your score. The next activity is one of the really interesting games that I really like to play here, which is labeling. You have a diagram here for our cardiovascular system or the human circulatory system. But on the screen there, you can find some cards. We need to label them correctly. For example, which word is supposed to be here to be connected with this organ? You have here arteries, heart, veins, lungs, and capillaries. I guess you answer it correctly. It's gonna be lungs. The next word here is supposed to be here. What is this organ? And I guess that's an easy one. That's the heart. The next word going to be labeled here. The blue blood vessels here. The blood vessels that are represented by the blue color here. And I guess they are carrying from the diagram here something from the body back to heart. They are full of deoxygenated blood. So are these veins or arteries? Which one of them do you think? If you said veins, your answer is correct. The following one going to be here. These kinds of blood vessels are represented by the red color. So it's going to be the arteries, which are full of oxygenated blood. The final thing here, the connections between the arteries and veins, which are distributed all over body organs. The connections between arteries and veins around all body organs known as blood capillaries. Let's submit our answers to discover what is our score. It seems we have the full mark. Finally, if you like this lesson, don't forget to make like and subscribe if you didn't make yet. Don't forget as well to send me back a screenshot of all of your scores and follow us on our pages. Thank you so much for watching and see you the next time. Goodbye.